Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, February 10th, 2026. So we start off with the rest of the memorial for Stefano. We already know that the Phoenix is gonna live on in one of his kids, and that had to be EJ because he was definitely the closest heir child to Stefano in terms of his personality, his charm, his wit. That is completely Stefano Jr. Now, all of them are there at the crib to, pay their last respects to their father and grandfather because Theo was also there. And they were about to start and they were asking, if Kristen is going to really be here, especially given what happened in the crib with Peter and she shows up. Now, earlier, Theo was just, he was just having PTSD from being in the crib, seeing the crime tape left back there. He was just scared again about what happened, and he just felt like a coward. And his uncles assured him that he was not a coward, he was the bravest of them all. He went through a lot more than them, and it's okay to feel like that. So they asked if he wanted the door open, and he said yes. Now later on, Kristen comes in, and I don't understand if Kristen has all these pent up energy towards EG, and then she has all these unresolved feelings towards her father, negative feelings at that. Why show up to pay your respects? I mean, I guess it's complicated, but at the same time, like, why spew out that? Because everybody also just wants to keep it really positive, especially for Theo, who really had great memories of his grandfather. Like, he doesn't understand what they went through, obviously, so he asked them to just, tell him a lot more about what they went through, and they each told him that, Stefano was definitely a complicated man. He pitted them against each other. He was sadistic. The fact that he took Kristen away from her mom and Peter and really messed up her life in a way, and also EJ felt like, he had to live up to Stefano, and how Stefano felt towards him was really complicated, and how he treated him, Chad as well. And Tony also talked about his obsession with Marlena and how he would be relentless with that. But they also talk about his positive side, meaning that he was all about family in his own way. He would give his life or any of his lives for his kids. And Theo talks about how his grandfather was just instrumental in making him feel seen, always cared about what he thought, because a lot of people treated him differently because of his condition. And that was really it. So they started to just go individually, put their flowers into the little chest with the urn, and they were all saying how despite his ways, they're proud to bear his name. They are honored because he's all about family, and they're gonna miss him dearly. Theo talked about how he's gonna miss him, and that he's glad that his legacy will live on, and that he's glad that he gave life with his mom, and that it passed down through him. So yeah, it was definitely a beautiful, touching moment. EJ had some time with Stefano to think about the man he is today, and that he just can't come to terms that Stefano is really gone, and that he can't accept that. Part of him can't accept that Stefano is really gone. Now we'll go back to that in a bit. So let's go on to Marlena, Belle, and Brady. So Marlena and Belle were there talking about the memorial and how she was glad that she was able to say her piece. And she's happy she got the closure. She just wished that John was able to have that closure and just say his piece with Stefano, because Stefano put him through a lot. Brady comes in and they hear about Brady's new place. Brady finally gets a place. Brady finally mans up and finds a place of his own. So in any case, Rachel is taken out of Bayview. Rachel has a place to stay because Kristen is allowing him to have physical custody of her until she gets a place of her own. Now, he speaks to Belle and Marlena about how Kristen really doesn't like the idea of her being in Bayview and wants to take her out because she doesn't think that Rachel is getting the treatment there. But he disagrees with that. Dr. Gregory disagrees with that. And, they feel as if she needs to stay a little longer. And Belle is also saying that it would be unwise of Kristen to do that because it's going to mess up her case with, the judge. And the judge is not going to be that lenient. And what Belle really wants is for them to really, get Rachel the help she needs and not let her be in any penitentiary, get in any kind of institution like that. Really just, play the mental health card, right? So hopefully that goes well. But Brady says Kristen is like that, where once she gets something in her head, it's really hard to fight her on that, and he's just sorry that he gave up custody of her, given years of, how it was before, and he just doesn't want to go through a nasty custody battle with her again. I'm gonna say, like, it should be different given that she went to jail to protect her. Like, it should be amicable, but again, Kristen is gonna be Kristen, right? They can only hope. So unbeknownst to all of them, Kristen walls in and tells them that, look, I pulled Rachel out of Bayview without your consent. I told you I was going to go ahead and do it. And of course, they are upset with Kristen for going ahead and doing that irrational move. Rachel is beyond excited to be out of that place. And, she went for a cookie and the adults got to talking, and Brady's like, I can't believe we do this. And, Chris is like, what? We talked about this. Like, I thought we were on board with this. And he's like, you should have consulted me first about really going through with this. And he was telling Belle earlier that he was going to talk with her, but maybe on another day because she was busy with the memorial of her father. Now that she's there now, it's just making everything very complicated. And Rachel was like, can we go to a new place? And Brady's like, maybe it's best if you stay here because we have a lot to sort out. So Belle also asked Kristen, like, you have any more tricks up your sleeve? So she said, no. As your mom said, let's talk about it in the morning. But she was saying, like, this can really mess up her case. And Kristen doesn't believe that. Kristen's like, she doesn't belong in that place. Like, she's not getting the help she needs. And of course, they are not liking it one bit. But again, what are your thoughts on this whole thing with Kristen pulling her daughter out? Because for one thing, Rachel does need the help. She does need the therapy. But I don't think Bayview is doing any good, especially with Sophia there in her ear. And them not having the proper security system, they don't have stringent measures, or even if they do, they're not enforcing it a lot. And I think it's not really a great institution for somebody like Rachel. They need to have some other place closer to home, but at the same time, she's getting the help that she needs, and they can progress. But I don't think Bayview is the right place. I'm actually with Kristen on this, but I understand that it may backfire given that the judge might not like this and might want her to actually do the time, do some juvenile institution or whatever. So while EJ was in the crypt, the other DiMera family members were there, putting out the nicest brandy, cheers into Stefano, playing his opera music, just honoring him. And they talk briefly about, I guess, Chad, what Chad's going through with his custody battle. And Tony's happy that he won. And he was going to make a remark about the Hortons, but Chad said, no, they're nice people. My wife was one, and she's one of the best people I know. I beg to differ, Chad, but I'm going to keep it cute. But Tony said he didn't mean to, that wasn't his intention. And Chad understand. Chad just said it's a lot going through, and his kids were going through a lot, but he's happy that it's over, and they're gonna miss their grandparents when they go back to Boston. So Tony's like, why don't you take them out of school for 2 weeks and go somewhere warm? Just you and the kids, you have some downtime with your kids. And he's saying they still have school, they have schoolwork, and he's like, they can't do it at home. Like, it's great that you guys need some time away. And he was even telling them also, it's not only about that, it's about what's going on with Jeremy. He's in a legal situation. And he definitely, after some persuading, he definitely took up Tony with this idea. So I know that actually Chad is leaving. We all know that this version of Chad is leaving. He's already on YNR. Definitely gonna miss him when he comes off the screen, but let's give this guy a chance. I think his name is Connor. Let's hope he definitely pulls off Chad really well. And he's definitely easy on the eyes so far, but we're definitely gonna miss Blue Eyes Chad on days. I've been watching Chad for 10 plus years, all the 10 years since he's been on Days of Our Lives. So I'm gonna miss Billy Flynn for sure. He was a great addition to the show. So back to EJ doing some reflection in the crib and talking to his dad's urn. And He also talked about Rita, how Rita was always loyal to Stefano, and how Stefano had that impact or that influence on his employees that they still would remain loyal to him even when he was gone. So he put a fountain pen that Rita said to put in there, that he gave her. Rolf surprisingly enters and he started barging, but he just wanted to pay his last respects to Stefano because you know how Rolf feels about Stefano. He's forever loyal to him in life and in death, and he just wanted to just pay his respects, and how he always allowed him to creatively carry out his experiments, and he's gonna miss him. And he told EJ that he had something to give him that Stefano wanted him to have in his last moments. So he gave him Stefano's original ring and said that, the Phoenix has to live on. His legacy has to still continue, and I'm proud to carry on the work. And EJ was telling him how, he's doing excellent work and father would be proud. And he's like saying that, I'm glad to do the work that you wish for me to do. And he gave him the ring, and then he felt the essence of Stefano. We see this throwback of Stefano doing this listening to opera and doing this orchestrating thing, and it was really cool to see. There was a part with EJ and Chad before Chad and the others left out of the crib, and Chad was saying how EJ was really good to him, and despite his flaws, he deserves all the peace in the world, and he wishes him that all the happiness. He thanks him for being there for him. And Chad and EJ also said the same, and that he wish he can have some of his own qualities. And Chad is a good man, and Chad said, I'm just trying my best. And he said, look, you're the best of us all, and if only I could be half the man, half the father you are, I'd be great. And they give each other their flowers, and they hug, and they love each other and all of that, and they're here for each other. It was really cool to see that. They did ask about how Stefano's bones did reach into the crypt, or who brought it there, and EJ already knew it was Rolf, but he didn't know who actually scattered the bones. So he played, pretend play all of that, and everybody's looking at him funny, but he decides to act as if he doesn't know as well. But yeah, that was it, guys. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.